Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. It's Cynicalex, and today I want to take Doctor Strange through his paces in ABX and show you how easily he smashes out 3.5 million, which is the current maximum, using a CTP of Rage in an offensive build. But mind you, he can still get a very high score with other builds. I've heard people getting very close to the cap, very close to 3.5 million, using a CTP of Energy, which is more along the lines of a damage proc, a regular damage proc. Now, in general, I don't know how much I can recommend building Doctor Strange offensively and then giving him a regular damage proc, especially an Obelisk, simply because he doesn't really work well. His rotation doesn't really center around an Obelisk, so you may end up with pretty variable scores depending on how lucky you get with your procs lining up or not lining up, and it's pretty much impossible to actually line them up, you know, over a 2 or 3 minute span. So I can't personally recommend that. I'm not saying it's a dangerous idea, but I just want to caution people that it might not lead to the results that they necessarily want, or they may need to play a lot to get those results. But let's take a look at how he plays right now in ABX. And for those of you that have been around for a long time in Marvel Future Fight, for those of you that used to play a long time ago, you will recognize most of what I'm doing right now, because this is exactly how the old Tier 2 Doctor Strange played in ABX. It's one skill more. Instead of doing 4 cancel 3 cancel 2, we were just doing 3 cancel 2, but basically it's just a complete spam fest. And now just a quick caution for those of you that are going to accuse the CTP of Rage of destroying you know, skill rotations and taking all of the fun out of the game. This is not really because of the CTP of Rage. This is actually because of Doctor Strange's own rotation, because he's able to put all of his skills on cooldown with his super powerful Sorcerer Supreme 5th skill. And he's always played this way for this particular game mode. It's just that he's been out of the meta for ABX for a long time because his damage was really not up to par. And that's the same reason why, until he got his Tier 3, Doctor Strange wasn't being used for very little, if any, PvE content to begin with. And the reason for that is just his damage wasn't high enough. But now with the 6th skill, he can not only provide great crowd control, but he's got a great skill with lots of consistent damage. It charges up super fast, so you're almost like you're working with 6 skills at the same time. And it's got all defense down, which of course we know is the #1 PvE skill in the game. So it's a pretty easy rotation. Basically, the only thing you have to watch out for, which it starts to become more difficult to do in the last minute and a half, but for the first minute and a half, you want to make sure that you use his 5th skill after his 6th skill. You don't want to use 5 before 6, because if you do 5 into 6, the first like second and a half to 2 seconds, he's just up there floating, as you could see, before you get the clones to come out for the images of Icon. And so if you do 5 into 6, you're wasting those seconds of the 5th skill, and then you lose basically 1 full rotation of 4 cancel 3 cancel 2. Now, your device speed is also going to play a big part in whether you can actually do this, so you may need to turn off the graphics. I mean, not turn them off, I mean, I wish you could turn them off, but you may need to turn the graphics down to low to achieve this, because you do need to do a lot of skill canceling, and you know, you're going to lose a lot of frames if you're lagging, and those frames are basically data that equals more damage and more points. So we've already smashed out 3.5 million with 30 seconds left, so he can definitely do this. He can do even higher than this with CTP of Rage, and he might even be able to do this 3.5 and up with a CTP of Energy, or possibly even a proc, or you might be able to get close. You're probably going to get at least 2.5 million, possibly even 3. And I want to go a little bit higher to see just how well I can. Oh, I did 5 instead of 6. See, that was my mistake. I thought I pressed 6. Yeah, I goofed up. I could have gotten 4.5 or something. I majorly goofed up. I pressed 5 instead of 6. But it's a really easy, smooth 3.5. He completely crushes the old score. And for those of you that are wondering what this means, well, it means that even if Iron Man gets a huge rework buff for Endgame, for his Endgame buffs, there's really no reason to Tier 3 Iron Man, because you have Doctor Strange. Now, you may still want a Tier 3 Iron Man because you love him, or you may already have Iron Man Tier 3, but just for those keeping track at home, right now, the major use for Iron Man for most players at Tier 3, with a CTP of Rage particularly, is ABX. But now Doctor Strange can do it, and he does it a lot more easily. It's a much easier rotation. You don't have to worry about targeting for the Tier 3 skill, and you just smash it out really easily. But on top of that, he dominates other PvE content the way in a way that Iron Man doesn't. Now, we definitely still have to wait for the rework because we don't know how good Netmarble is going to make Iron Man. If they give him the Sharon Rogers treatment or the Luna Snow or the Jean Grey treatment, look out, world, Iron Man's back in business. But if they don't, you know, you can definitely count on Doctor Strange, and Doctor Strange has a lot more going for him. Now, just a quick reminder of the build. We've got pretty much everything maxed out: crit rate, dodge, ignore defense, and cooldown, with crit damage only 7% off of max. All 5 and 6 star Uru, except for that one pesky 4-star HP, which I'll change eventually. We got level 6 on most of the skills, but they're actually not all level 6. You don't need that 6 technically. Rank 1 blast enhancement, which is whatever. Overdrive ISO 8 said he doesn't need the attack speed, and then a 30-25 CTP of rage with a mythic uniform with most of the options legendary, mythic, or heroic, and that's just pretty nice. But the other thing I wanted to show you guys was the Thanos not so clear. So check this out. This is actually pretty insane. We're gonna go to stage 39, which is an insanely difficult stage. This is a very, very high stage for Thanos. Not that many players can actually get this high and complete it. And we're gonna bring in the good Doctor. Now we're gonna bring in Doctor Strange. We're gonna bring in 2 supports. We're gonna double up the support, and I want you to pay attention to how crazy the damage is in the first 2 rounds. It's actually pretty bonkers how high his damage is, but what you will see is that as things progress, his damage definitely does take a nosedive. And we'll bring along, let's say, Captain Marbles, just for like raw damage. Maybe not. Maybe we'll just go with more damage against supervillain types. Yeah, Deadpool's fine. We'll bring Deadpool. We don't really need those buffs. We actually don't need the crit rate at all. The crit damage is fine. It caps our crit damage, but the all defense down from Deadpool is not going to work in the second phase. But check out how fast this first phase is, and this is pretty wild. I think the Thanos fight really illustrates perfectly not only the insane power of Doctor Strange, but also the one gap, the one small weakness in his otherwise impenetrable armor. So just watch Thanos' bar, watch his health bar, and I'm kind of goofing up the rotation here, but watch Thanos' health bar just take a long dip. It's pretty hilarious. The damage is just absurd, and we're gonna... Okay, so we're gonna actually interrupt him here. We're gonna use our 6th skill, and we're gonna freeze Proxima, and we're gonna freeze Thanos and Corvus. We froze them all. We completely skipped that part of the fight, and with just a couple more clicks, boom. That's right. You just witnessed the first 9 bars of Thanos' health being depleted in 47 seconds. That amount of damage and CC is disgusting. And this right there is a pretty good argument for Doctor Strange being the number 1 or maybe the number 1 blast character in the game for PvE, and really, really close to Deadpool for the number 1 DPS, the number 1 straight up PvE character in the game. It's absolutely disgusting how much damage I just did. Completely froze Thanos. He could do nothing the entire time except just stand there. But now, with 4 minutes left, and I keep pausing and I keep exaggerating this because honestly it blew my mind. I kept trying over and over and over again, and I was getting the exact same results. Now watch what happens when Doctor Strange can't time freeze Thanos. When Thanos has that little black feather with the yellow outline. It's literally night and day. So the first thing you're going to notice is that his 6th skill is really hard to hit Thanos with, because Thanos is constantly moving around in this phase. And on top of that, you have to watch out. I mean, I should have switched actually to not get debuffed there, but you know, there's so many things that you have to look out for. And basically, one of the biggest things, one of the best ways to counter Thanos is to use iframes. You can't use iframes with Doctor Strange against Thanos because Doctor Strange really only has 2 iframes. And so because I can't use iframes, I have to be really careful, and I have to really choose my spots carefully, because now, for example, if he catches me with this laser, I'm dead. I can't interrupt him. I only have 1 skill that I'm dead. Switch. Okay, we almost died there. We have 600 HP. The only reason why we survived is because I switched. But yeah, he doesn't have iframes to interrupt Thanos' skills, and he only has 1 skill with immunity that you don't want to just spam blindly, because you need to be able to use it in the pocket when you're about to take damage and get hit. So we're going to try to, you know, recover some health here, but it's basically just like one tap and you have to run away, and it's this huge cat and mouse game, and, you know, you guys are... Oh, shit, I'm dead. And Doctor Strange's 6th skill, it puts him up in the air. It freezes him in place for, you know, 3 seconds. That's more than enough time for Thanos to either get the lasers off and kill you, or to pop those purple lines under you and kill you as well. On top of that, he has that skill where he throws the orbs at you, which I think is what he's doing to me right now, and then he goes into the meteors. Guess what? That strips away your immunity, and it's also going to hit you unless you can iframe out of it. So what you're seeing right now is just a complete and total takedown of Doctor Strange, and this blows my mind. He also, his 6th skill does not have iframe ignore, and so you can't even hit him when he goes into those... I got so lucky there. You can't even hit him when he goes into those portals, and that would be a great time to hit him with the 6th skill. But as you can see, we've struggled to get him down 3 bars from 11 to 8. Keep in mind how much time is left. I mean, I've spent some of the time talking, I've spent some of the time running away from him, but this is real. And look, he just iframes and completely dodges all the damage because the skill doesn't have iframe ignore. So it's a real tangible weakness that he has. And now he's doing the lasers, so now I have to pay really close attention, and I didn't, so now I'm dead. Oh, I barely survived there. Okay, let's see what we can do. We can't really just sit here and spam combos either, because we need to pay attention to what's going on. He's doing the purple lines. I gotta get out of the way. Let's try to pop the 6th skill, but hope that he doesn't move out of the way in time. You know, while we're doing it, he straight up gets right out of the way. And even, like, just looking at his trajectory in terms of his pathing, he literally jumps perfectly out of the way of Doctor Strange's tier 3 skill. The only way to avoid that is if you stand much closer to him, and he's about to use... Yep, he used the meteor skill, and I'm dead. So in that case, I should have switched because he was using the blue orbs to debuff me. But yeah, so it's crazy how much harder this stage is. And you might think that I'm exaggerating or that I'm playing worse, but I'm really not. Doctor Strange has no instant iframes. He has a delayed iframe on his 1st skill, and he has a delayed iframe on his 4th skill. The only other iframe that he has, of course, is on 5 and 6, but you can't run around waiting to use his 5th skill iframe just to use it as an iframe to dodge damage. You have to use it in order to get his other skills going, otherwise you're not going to charge his tier 3 skill. So it's a really interesting fight, and it's incredibly difficult for Doctor Strange because his offense is his defense against Thanos. His 5th skill has immunity, which is going to protect him from the lasers and certain abilities. And then the 5th skill, iframe, is really his only instant iframe, which protects him against Thanos' purple or blue orbs that debuff. And it protects him from Thanos when Thanos is going into the portal to drop down the meteors from space. If you iframe during that, it will interrupt him. But otherwise, if you iframe and then he does those purple lines on the ground, those waves, that instant kills you. That pierces your immunity, that pierces your iframes, so you can't dodge those at all. And all of Doctor Strange's iframes that are long, i.e. 5 and 6, he goes straight up, which is perfect positioning, perfectly bad positioning for that purple X that shows up to kill you from the waves. So yeah, I would say that Doctor Strange is an amazing character for, you know, 90+% of PvE content. He completely dumps Black Dwarf. He can do Proxima as well. We've seen some video clips of that. He can do Corvus. He can do Ebony because of the all defense down. And he crushes the first 11 or the first 9 bars of Thanos. But those last 11 bars, I still have not been able to do them because I run out of time. And Thanos just refuses to stay still long enough for that 6th skill to actually hit. Doctor Strange's 6th skill makes Sharon Rogers' 6th skill look easy to aim because it just takes so long to wind up, and in the meantime Thanos just does a little hop and he's outside of the range of the skill and he's dodged it, and you lost all the damage, and you don't get the all defense down anyways because of that debuff immunity. So a really, really interesting thing. I wanted to bring that to you guys. I know it might not be that exciting for some of you that don't have Doctor Strange tier 3, but it's something that really speaks to little pockets of balance in this game that I feel really, really good about. You know, I took a really big swing at Netmarble recently, talking about game balance, talking about character balance, but it's stuff like this that reminds me that whether it's intentional or purely by accident, even sometimes an accident can be beautiful. It creates a really nice moment of balance, and just a place where you would imagine that the character is going to completely dominate, and they do, and then suddenly the tables are turned, Thanos snaps his fingers, and Doctor Strange is getting shredded to pieces and thrown into the Soul Stone. So hit me up in the comments, let me know what you think of that crazy reversal, Doctor Strange v Thanos. Subscribe if you enjoy the content and you want to support me, and of course, if you like what you see, I hope to see you later today. Take care.